The billionaire's daughter, Isabella Carrington, had always been surrounded by luxury and privilege. She had access to the best schools, the most expensive tutors, and every opportunity money could buy. Yet despite all these advantages, Isabella failed every test she took. Math seemed like a foreign language. Science formulas danced confusingly across the pages, and literature assignments left her feeling lost and frustrated. Her parents, especially her father, were growing increasingly concerned. How could someone so privileged struggle so profoundly in areas where even average students excelled? Every failed test felt like a public humiliation. At school, whispers followed her down the hallways, and even her teachers began to doubt her potential. Isabella felt trapped in a cycle of disappointment, shame, and frustration. Her self-esteem was crumbling, and she was beginning to believe that she would never live up to the Carrington family name. One afternoon, after another disheartening report card, Isabella's father decided to try something unconventional. He had noticed a man who worked as a janitor at their estate, Mr. Daniel Hayes, quietly observing Isabella from a distance whenever he came to clean her study room. Daniel wasn't just any janitor. He was a single dad who had raised his daughter alone, teaching her lessons in resilience, curiosity, and problem-solving without relying on wealth or privilege. Unlike the tutors who overwhelmed Isabella with complicated methods, Daniel had a calm, patient demeanor that seemed to put her at ease. "Maybe it's time someone teaches you differently," her father suggested, though he was unsure whether a janitor could succeed where all the others had failed. Reluctantly, Isabella agreed to meet Daniel after school. At first, she approached him with skepticism and barely hid her frustration. She had grown used to the belief that learning was either easy for someone or impossible, and she was convinced she belonged in the impossible category. Daniel smiled gently and didn't rush her. "I don't care what you failed at before," he said simply. "I'm not here to judge. I'm here to show you a different way to think. Sometimes all it takes is one secret." Isabella frowned, curiosity tinged with doubt. She had heard promises before, but none had worked. Yet there was something different about Daniel. His presence was unassuming, yet it carried a sense of hope she hadn't felt in a long time. That day marked the first step toward an unexpected journey, one that would challenge everything she thought she knew about learning, intelligence, and herself. The next day, Isabella returned to the study room, still skeptical but slightly intrigued. Daniel had prepared a simple setup: a few books, a notebook, and a whiteboard. Nothing fancy, no intimidating formulas, no rigid schedules, just a calm space and a man who genuinely seemed to care about her understanding. "Let's start small," Daniel said gently. "I want to see how you think, not how much you already know." Isabella raised an eyebrow. "I already know I'm bad at this," she muttered. "I fail everything." Daniel chuckled softly. "Then maybe the problem isn't that you're bad. Maybe it's that no one has taught you in a way that works for you." For hours they worked together. Daniel never yelled, never expressed frustration. Instead, he asked questions that made Isabella think differently. He taught her to break problems into smaller, manageable steps, to find patterns in chaos, and, most importantly, he showed her that making mistakes wasn't failure. It was part of the process. Slowly, something began to change. The heavy, suffocating feeling of anxiety that had followed her into every test started to lift. She realized that learning didn't have to be terrifying. Daniel's methods weren't about memorizing answers or forcing herself through frustration. They were about understanding the logic behind them. By the end of the week, Isabella experienced a small but powerful victory. She solved a math problem that had stumped her for months. It wasn't just the solution, it was the way she had arrived at it. She felt a thrill she hadn't felt in years. The feeling of achievement earned through her own effort. Daniel smiled at her, quietly proud. "See? That's the secret I told you about. Learning isn't about what you fail at or how fast you get it. It's about how you approach it. Once you unlock that, nothing can stop you." For the first time, Isabella began to believe that she could change. She realized that wealth, tutors, and prestige didn't guarantee success. Understanding herself, learning her own rhythm, and having the right guidance did. Her parents noticed the shift too. Where once she had been timid and anxious, now she approached her studies with curiosity and confidence. The whispers of failure faded. replaced by quiet determination. Isabella wasn't just passing tests anymore. She was beginning to master them. But Daniel knew this was only the beginning. Bigger challenges lay ahead, and the lessons she was learning weren't just about school. They were about life. And Isabella was finally ready to face them. Weeks turned into months, and Isabella's progress was nothing short of remarkable. What had once seemed impossible, solving complex math problems, understanding challenging science concepts, and writing essays with clarity, was now becoming her daily reality. But the biggest change wasn't just academic, it was her confidence. No longer did she hesitate to ask questions in class or shy away from challenging assignments. Daniel's lessons had taught her a secret that went far beyond textbooks, believing in herself and approaching problems with curiosity rather than fear. This mindset transformed not only her grades but her entire outlook on life. One afternoon, Isabella's school announced the results of a major standardized exam. For months she had feared this moment, imagining the familiar sting of failure. But this time was different. As the scores were read aloud, Isabella's name appeared at the top of the list in several subjects. Shock rippled through the classroom. Teachers who had doubted her potential for years stared in astonishment. Her classmates, once whispering about her failures, now looked at her with admiration. Her parents were equally stunned. Tears filled her mother's eyes as she hugged Isabella tightly. "I can't believe this. You did it," her father whispered, pride and emotion evident in his voice. Isabella's smile was radiant but humble. She knew the truth, that this success wasn't magic. It was the result of patience, guidance, and the single dad janitor who had refused to give up on her when everyone else had. Daniel's gentle wisdom and unconventional teaching had unlocked her potential in ways no one else could. "What changed?" her mother asked later that evening. Isabella thought for a moment. "It wasn't just about studying," she said. "It was learning how I learn, and that it's okay to fail sometimes. Daniel taught me that failure isn't the end. It's just part of the journey to getting it right." Word of her transformation spread beyond the school. Isabella began mentoring other students who struggled like she once had, passing on the lessons Daniel had taught her. And though she had been born into wealth, she realized the most valuable things in life weren't in her family's fortune. They were in patience, understanding, and the quiet belief that everyone has untapped potential. Daniel watched from afar, smiling as Isabella thrived. For him, it wasn't about recognition or reward. It was about knowing that sometimes a little guidance, patience, and one secret can change a life forever. And Isabella Carrington, the once failing daughter of a billionaire, had learned a lesson worth more than all the riches in the world. True success begins within. After her remarkable turnaround, Isabella realized that her journey was far from over. While she had conquered her academic struggles, she now faced a new challenge: how to use her skills to make a difference beyond herself. Wealth had given her opportunities, but Daniel had given her something far more valuable: the ability to learn, grow, and inspire others. Determined to give back, Isabella approached Daniel with an idea. "I want to help other students who feel like I did, like they'll never succeed," she said. Daniel smiled. That's exactly the kind of mindset that creates real change. Together, they started small. On weekends, Isabella began tutoring struggling students at her school. She shared not only lessons in math, science, and literature, but also the mindset Daniel had taught her: breaking problems into steps, learning from mistakes, and believing in one's ability to grow. Her students responded eagerly, their own confidence blooming with each success. Meanwhile, Isabella's own academic performance continued to soar. She began entering competitions and science fairs, often placing at the top. But her greatest satisfaction came not from awards or recognition. It came from seeing other students succeed because she was there to guide them. Word spread quickly about Isabella's transformation. Teachers and parents were amazed not only by her personal achievements, but also by her dedication to helping others. The billionaire Carrington family, once solely focused on prestige and wealth, began to see the true value of mentorship, patience, and genuine learning. Isabella's bond with Daniel grew stronger too. She had once been a student desperate for help, Now she was a partner in spreading knowledge and confidence. Daniel often reminded her, "The lessons you've learned will take you further than any wealth ever could. Keep sharing them." By the end of the school year, Isabella had become a symbol of perseverance and hope. She proved that failure doesn't define you. Guidance matters more than privilege, and the right mindset can turn any struggle into success. Most importantly, Isabella had discovered her own purpose, to use her advantages not just for herself, but to uplift others. And in doing so, she realized a profound truth. Sometimes, the richest lessons in life come not from money, but from patience, persistence, and a single person who believes in you when everyone else doubts you. Her journey had begun with failed tests, but it ended with something far greater. A life transformed, and the power to transform others as well.